Hi, Courtney and Spencer. Thanks for joining me for Contraception Conversations.
Thanks for having us.
So before we get started, can you tell me a little about yourself, like your pronouns, where you live, what are your hobbies, and what has been your career path?
Yeah, my pronouns are she, her, and Spencer is he, him. And we live in Roseville, Minnesota, which is a suburb just outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We're both in our early 30s. And as far as career paths, I work in the athletics office for a nearby city for Parks and Rec. I have a master's degree in sport management. And I still play a lot of adult softball and some other sports. So that was the right career path for me.
So I am a chiropractor in Shoreview, Minnesota, which is like 10 minutes north of where we live. As far as hobbies and whatnot, I really enjoy weightlifting, biking, and we like to do some kayaking every now and then when we have time.
Yeah.
So what if you're feeling feelings have you had about becoming a parent throughout your life? And have they changed over time?
No, I mean, I remember being in my teens and saying, I am never having kids. Like, I didn't even like kids when I was a kid. And back then, everybody's like, you're only 16, you don't know any better. I was married previously a long time ago in my early 20s. And at that point, I had kind of resigned myself to, okay, well, you're married now, so I guess you have to have kids. And luckily that never happened. That was actually a big part of why I got divorced. And then, I mean, I'm in my 30s now and still having the same feelings. So
myself, honestly, I wasn't even interested in dating until I was in my early 20s. And even when I finally started doing that, I realized that I didn't really have a whole lot of like emotional amount to like split between even just, my partner, and then try to split that again with a kid, it just seemed very overwhelming to me.
Why did you choose the child-free by choice path?
we like to have just
the freedom
flexibility, the freedom. I mean, there have been times where it's been 8:30 and we go, oh shoot, that store closes at 9, and we run across town and we go shopping, and then we go out for dinner and we don't end up coming home until close to 11, or we'll go out for a weekend just on a whim.
Just being without having to like pack, basically double the amount of things, and having to, or like, oh, we need to find a sitter or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, and for me, I grew up in a split household. And obviously my parents, did the best they could, and I didn't intentionally, mean to traumatize us, but I think everybody's parents do accidentally, to a certain degree. And I just knew that, I didn't want to bring kids up in that kind of realm. I mean, my whole family, we have a lot of addiction struggles and just very strong personalities, and I just didn't want to risk that, I guess.
So what contraception methods have you used, and what has been your experience with them?
I was on the pill for, I started when I was 15 to take care of some, not even forced sex, like the cramping, the different feminine issues that birth control can solve for some. And we got married when I was 31. So we have to count back now. We're like, there was a point before our wedding where I was really struggling to lose like the last 10, 15 pounds of, weight. And it was just doing some more research and came across the fact that maybe it was my birth control that was preventing me from losing weight. So I, went to him and said, hey, like, I want to get off the pill for me. So what does that mean for us? Like, do we want to go back to using condoms? Do we want to, what do we want to do? I wanted to have a conversation about that. And he said, well, can I just go get a vasectomy? And I was like, yes, you can. That would be great. So he did that almost 3 years ago. And I mean, I stayed on the pill a little bit longer just to, cross things, but I've been off the pill for 2.5 years now. And so I am also, I've had a consultation, but I'm moving forward with having a tubal ligation or a bilateral salpingectomy. She said they kind of use the same terminology for both now. So that was cool. So yeah, we're into the permanent sterilization phase of our lives.
I like how collaborative that conversation is.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge about choosing to be child-free?
Coming up with enough witty comebacks when people ask why we're not having kids.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, we see a lot of stories online about, people whose families aren't supportive or they feel really alienated by their friends, and that we haven't experienced that.
Not a whole lot. I mean,
there's been some satellite aunties or extended family that are really surprised, but those are also the people that don't know us very well. Like our parents were like, that makes sense for Courtney, and well, we're just glad Spencer got married at this point, so we're fine. And we both have younger siblings. Nobody has kids yet. Everybody's at least in their 20s, and none of us have kids. I don't necessarily think our siblings are choosing to be child free. So maybe we'll have nieces and nephews in the future. But I mean, for now, our friends have kids, and that's fine with us.
Yeah.
What has been the best part about choosing to be child free?
Kind of going back to the conversation about why we started, it's we haven't had to deal with just all the extra mental challenge that comes with raising a kid.
Especially during the pandemic. We'll look at each other and be like, thank God we didn't do that. The whole digital learning and just having them around 24/7. We like our peace and quiet. So.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. So you did kind of touch on this in an earlier question, but when you made the choice to be child-free, or I guess expressed it to others, what kind of reactions did you get from peers, family? I guess it sounds like it went well between each other.
Yeah, that panned out really well. I mean, my parents had already been kind of conditioned because I had been saying it since I was 16. The worst reaction that I get from just, coworkers or, just random people that it comes up in conversation is they think that I forced him to get a vasectomy. And I was like, that is not our situation at all. He literally asked. And our friends don't seem to care really. I mean, we don't hate kids. We are
very good at being the fun on.
Yeah. Yep. We just don't want any of our own, and people are cool with that. And a lot of times they're like, "Oh, good idea, good decision." And we're like, "Yeah, we know."
So, what's one piece of advice you'd give people who know they?
I mean, I would say if you're really about if you've had that conversation with your partner and you both are on that same page, I mean, there's no point in putting it off anymore. You might as well just do it.
Yeah, as far as he means as far as the sterilization piece, which different people have different medical phobias or I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. The whole medical system and insurance in America is just ridiculous. So like there could be financial barriers too. For me, because I'm also getting the question right now of, well, if he's sterilized, why do I need to go do it too? And as much of a conversation as it was between the two of us, I also know that if something were to happen, if we were to get divorced, or if he were to, no offense, die, but there's a whole myriad of issues to where like our marriage is protected, but I'm not personally. Or, what if I was assaulted, or I'm one of those people that has to think of all of the possibilities. So for me, I guess I would suggest to people to not only have that conversation with your partner, but with yourself, and what do you want outside of your relationship? Because my decision to be child free came long before he was in the picture. So I don't know. I had been living on the pill so long, I never thought to get permanently sterilized. I wish I would have thought of it sooner. But yeah, that would be my suggestion to people, is just to think about what you want personally in addition to if you have a partner too.
That's great. So then my last question is, are there any resources you'd like to share? Like somewhere you found community with other child-free people, or books or podcasts?
I'm in a few groups on Facebook, and I'll be honest, a lot of them are toxic. There's one that I like recently. It's called I'm Child Free, but not that child free, because there's a lot of people in the CF world who are just, they're just terrible, calling people breeders and just really rude. And like, we're definitely not. So we're child free, but we're not like that child free. So that's a fun group that I'm in. And then the other big resource that I used was the child free sterilization doctors list that's on Reddit. I think if you just Google child free Reddit, it'll pop right up. But particularly as a woman who has no children, it's very, very difficult to find doctors who will permanently sterilize. It's all sorted by state, and then each doctor has which cities they service within that. So I found a doctor off that list, and she was great. She was like, "Are you sure you don't want to have kids?" I said yes, and she was like, "Cool, let's schedule this." So and I know a lot of other women have met barriers like, well, what does your husband think? Well, what if you want kids down the line? And Dr. Sweeney had none of those concerns. That was not an issue. So the child-free Reddit list was the way to go for sure.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.